Welcome to Silent Chronicler. Tonight's Calm Chronicle takes you far from comfort, to a place where the only tools you have are a fishing hook and a blanket. No plan, no food, just ocean, wind, and the quiet question of how long you can keep going. You live here now. No rescue, no guidance, just the sound of waves, the sting of sunburn, and the kind of silence that makes you talk out loud just to feel human again. What started as a challenge slowly became routine. And tonight, as you try to start one more fire, as your stomach growls and your skin sticks to the blanket, you find yourself asking, how much can you really live? With almost nothing at all. If you're staying with me tonight, leave a like and subscribe. Tell me where you're listening from and what time your night begins. You wake with your face pressed into sand so cold it feels like bone. Your breath comes out in short, sharp bursts. The blanket beneath you is soaked, heavy, wrapped around your shoulders like a second skin, coarse and useless against the wind that slices in from the water. There's no memory of how you got here. No crash, no fire, no voices. Just the sound of the sea breathing behind you, and the weight of two things in your hand. A rusted fishing hook, tied with a line no longer than your arm, and the wet shape of the old wool blanket now clinging to your back. You sit up slowly. The beach around you is narrow, hemmed in by steep black stone. Above, the sky is the same color as ash soaked in rain. The air tastes like salt and iron. The blanket slips down your shoulder, and you feel the cold dig into your bones. You stand. The movement feels too loud. No one answers. You walk slowly toward the edge of the trees, blanket wrapped around you like a shroud, the hook clenched tight in your hand. The sand gives way to mud. The mud gives way to root. The root gives way to silence. There are no animals, no birds, only wind and the crunch of dead leaves under bare feet. It's too quiet, like the world is holding its breath, waiting to see what you'll do with the day. You find a stream by mid-morning, narrow and fast, winding through rock and fern. The water is clear, brutally cold. You drink until your lips go numb. You dip your fingers into the current and feel something like awareness in the cold, like the stream is tasting you back. You sit for a long time by the bank, blanketed shoulders pulled up around your ears, trying to remember if you've ever been this hungry. Your stomach twists in slow knots. You stare into the water. Small silver shapes dart beneath the surface. You watch them. Minutes pass, maybe hours. Hunger makes time long. You snap a branch from a low-hanging tree, strip the bark with your teeth. Not the fishing line to the end. It's short. Ridiculously short, but it's all you have. You bait the hook with your skin, peel a flap from your thumb, wrap it around the curve of the metal, and lower it into the water. You wait. Your hands tremble, not from fear, from fatigue. Cold, anticipation, a tug. You pull fast, and a flash of silver lifts from the water. A fish no bigger than your palm, wriggling desperately, scales shining like dull glass. You press it into the rocks. Its bones crack. You eat it raw, shivering, kneeling, sucking meat from spine with the blanket clutched around your shoulders like a prayer. You swallow bones. You don't care. You don't cry. You're too far from tears. The warmth in your belly is worth more than comfort. You drink again. You wash your hands. You don't look at your reflection. You head back toward the beach and find a hollow beneath a bent tree, where the roots lift from the ground like the edge of a broken bowl. You crawl inside, wrap the blanket tight, and curl into a shape that might survive the night. You listen to the dark. You don't dream. You only drift. When morning comes, your skin aches, your lips have cracked, your hands are stiff, and the fishing line has tangled in your fingers as you slept, looped around your wrists like something that doesn't trust you to hold on without help. You untangle it slowly. You move. You go back to the stream. You don't think about the end. You only think about today. Today, you have a hook, a blanket, a place to kneel, and enough cold in your bones to keep you awake. The spiral of survival is slow. But you're still here, and the forest hasn't said no. Not yet. You crouch beside the stream again, knees pressing into damp earth, toes curled against cold moss. The branch you fashioned into a rod now feels like an extension of your body, worn smooth where your hand has clutched it, fibers tightening at the knot where hook meets line. The cut on your thumb where you peeled skin for bait yesterday has darkened, turned stiff. You run your tongue across it without thinking. Salt, blood, memory, the fish are slower this morning. No thought, no prayer, just necessity. Its warmth fades quickly. You eat it, crouched over the stream, the skin sliding between your teeth, the spine snapping when you bite. Your body thanks you the only way it knows. It lets you stand again. The sun doesn't break the clouds. It never does. But the air shifts, slightly. You feel less weight in your shoulders. The forest seems to have loosened its grip on silence. A distant drip from a tree, a single leaf turning. You wrap the blanket tighter. You keep moving. Back to the beach. You mark the day with a small line of stones beside your shelter, though you don't know why. There's no calendar to match them to. Only the rhythm of cold and sleep and waking. You rest for a few hours, but it's not real sleep. Just a slow dullness in the body, a heaviness behind your eyes. When you blink, you forget where you are for a moment. That brief second before the hook and the blanket and the wind remind you. You look at your hands, they're red, the skin cracked in places, nails dark with earth. The line is still looped around your wrist, always tied. You can't risk losing it. It's the only thing the forest seems to allow you to take. You sit on the stone outcrop above the tide and watch the ocean move. It's endless. You try to imagine swimming into it, you fail. Not because you're afraid, but because you know it would take you, fold you into something cold and wordless and never offer you back. The thought doesn't scare you. It just settles next to you like a quiet guest. You speak for the first time in days, just a whisper, just the word, still. The ocean hears you, says nothing. And that feels right. Night comes. The blanket is no drier. The wind cuts through you, like thought. You lie curled beneath the roots, bones aching, arms wrapped tight around your own ribs. The hook stays clutched in your palm even as you drift. Your last thought before the dark fully settles is not about escape, not about rescue. Just this. Tomorrow, fish again. Tomorrow, breathe again. Tomorrow, stay. You wake before the sky changes, if it ever truly does. The air is colder than yesterday, sharper, as if the wind has remembered something bitter. You unwrap yourself from the damp wool and sit up slowly, every joint responding like old rope pulled too tight. Your breath comes out in plumes, soft and slow, and you let it rise until it disappears into the branches above, into the gray that swallows the trees without ever fully covering them. You stand. The hook is still wrapped around your wrist, the line pressed into your skin in a deep red groove that hasn't faded. You loosen it, run your thumb along the metal. It's beginning to shine from use, worn clean by the stream in your hands. It's the only thing getting sharper. Everything else, your thoughts, your steps, even your fear, has started to blur. You head toward the water. The forest shifts around you, quiet but not silent, full but not alive. It doesn't greet you. It tolerates you. You take that as a kind of welcome. At the stream, the water is lower again, but clearer. The fish still move, slower now. Or maybe you're just getting better at seeing them. You crouch, position the rod. You know where to aim. You know how to breathe. You wait. Not for the pull, just for the moment your body and the stream feel like the same thing. The line twitches. You react, sharp and fluid, and again. Another fish. A little larger this time, its body flashing as you lift it into the gray air. You kill it fast. The rock accepts the blood without comment. You eat in silence. The meat tastes like the day before, like cold and salt in silence. You drink from the stream, rinse your hands, and then just sit there, holding the hook in your lap like a small, simple truth. You don't need fire. You don't need comfort. You only need this: a bite, a breath, a place to kneel. You return to the beach before midday. The stones beside your shelter are damp. You add another one to the row. 3 now. 3 small shapes that say you are still here, that you have not vanished, that you are still a name even if no one speaks it. You sit and wrap the blanket tight and stare out over the sea. There is no horizon, only a fade. And in that fading line, you think you see something move, not a boat, not a shape, just a tremble in the light, like the ocean remembering a shadow. You don't move, you don't speak. You watch it until it's gone, or until you convince yourself it was never there. You lie down before the wind returns. You curl inward, the hook tied close to your chest. The forest leans a little closer than it did yesterday. You feel it in your spine. You sleep with one ear open, listening for whatever might have seen you today. The blanket presses against you like a second skin. It doesn't warm. It remembers. You dream, but only barely. Shapes without voices. Faces without names. A hook drifting in dark water. A hand reaching. Then nothing. You wake again. Not because you're rested, but because the day has begun. And the spiral continues. You rise from the blanket like smoke from damp ash. Slow and shapeless at first, your body unsure if it wants to belong to this morning. The air has changed again. Denser, heavier. The kind that settles inside your chest and makes each breath feel borrowed. You sit on the edge of the root hollow and rub warmth into your fingers, though there isn't much left to summon. The hook has tangled itself in your sleep again, knotted twice around your wrist as if trying to anchor you to the world. You untie it carefully, whispering to it, without words. A kind of instinct now. Part apology, part promise. The forest watches. Always. But it doesn't answer. Not with sound. Just with the absence of resistance. You walk the path to the stream with your blanket draped like a shroud, dragging through the leaf-soaked dirt, catching bits of twig and bark like memories. You no longer look around. You don't need to. The trees haven't moved, but they've changed. You can feel it in how they lean now, how the spaces between trunks grow narrower, more deliberate, as if the forest itself is beginning to close the door behind you. At the water, you kneel without hesitation. The branch you've been using rests against a stone where you left it. As if the place has accepted the pattern, you run the line through your fingers. The hook is cold, clean, steady. It's the only metal you've touched in days. And it feels more alive than your own limbs. You lower it into the current without bait. There's nothing left to offer but patience. You wait. The stream slides past, slow and silver. Time has softened its edges. Minutes pass, maybe more. The line shifts, not a pull, just a nudge. You lift quickly and another fish surfaces, larger, scaled and dull gold, heavy in your hand. You kill it with a flat stone. You don't flinch anymore. You don't look away. The hunger has become quiet now, not gone, just part of you. You eat slowly. The meat is cold but rich. It fills the space behind your ribs where the silence used to settle. You drink. You wash your hands. You press your palms into the earth and close your eyes. For a moment, you don't think about the next day. You only think about this one. You walk back to the beach without checking the sky. It doesn't matter. You're starting to feel the time in your bones, not your eyes. The line of stones beside your shelter grows longer. 4 now. You sit beside them. You place the hook in your lap and stare at the sea. There is no movement on the water today. No light, just stillness. Like the world is listening. Like it's waiting to see if you'll speak. But you don't. You've learned by now that survival doesn't come from talking. It comes from hearing. And you've heard everything this place has tried to say. The blanket wraps tighter tonight. Like it knows the wind is coming. You pull it up over your shoulders and lie down in the root hollow. You hold the hook in your hands like a relic. Your heart beats steady, low, tired. You don't dream of rescue anymore. You dream of water and quiet and the curve of the hook in your fingers. You sleep and the forest watches, still. You wake before the light changes, not because you're rested, but because the cold has found new places to settle in your bones. Your fingers feel stiff, curled around the hook where it lay clenched all night. like your body had refused to let go even while unconscious. You stretch slowly beneath the blanket, the fabric stiff in places where frost has crept in. Your breath rises in thin white lines that vanish almost immediately, taken by the stillness of the morning. You sit up. The sea is darker today, less like water, more like metal. The wind doesn't blow. It rests against the coastline like a weight. You wrap the blanket tighter and stand. Not because you want to move, but because staying still has started to feel like surrender. The forest doesn't greet you. It simply opens. The trees no longer look like trees. They look like sentinels, like something older than wood, older than time, tall and quiet and full of memory. You walk the path to the stream again. You know every stone now. Your feet find them without needing to look. The fish are slower today. You are not. You tie the line to your branch, lower the hook, and wait. The water doesn't rush. It barely moves. Minutes pass, then more. The sound of your breath begins to blend with the stream like your chest is part of the flow now. A soft pull. You react, swift, practiced. Another fish. This one thrashes longer. You press it to the stone. You eat with your eyes closed. The texture is no longer strange. It is nourishment. It is survival. It is ritual. You drink, rinse your face, crouch until your knees ache. You whisper to the stream, not with words, just sound. Gratitude, maybe, or apology. You walk back slowly, not because you're tired, but because you want the day to last. There are only 2 stones left to place. You feel that in your spine. You feel it in how the air moves differently now. Less resistance, more return. The trees part more easily, the beach feels softer. Not in texture, but in presence. Like the island itself is beginning to release its grip, not because you've conquered it, but because you've become part of it. You place the 5th stone beside the others. You sit down and watch the tide reach a little closer to your feet. You don't flinch. You let it touch you. The salt burns the cracks in your skin. It feels like waking up. You lie back on the damp sand, blanket over your chest, hook resting on your stomach. The sky above is no longer colorless. It's beginning to hint at something. Light, maybe, or a memory of it. You close your eyes. You don't sleep yet. You listen to the ocean breathing. You listen to the trees leaning in. You listen to yourself, still here, still breathing, still wrapped in the shape of someone who has lasted longer than he expected. You whisper the day aloud, voice rough. 5. The wind hears you, does not answer. It doesn't need to. It knows you've already made it further than most. The 6th day doesn't begin so much as it unfolds, slow and gray, like fog learning how to speak. Light filters in through the trees without conviction. The air carries a stillness so thick it presses against the chest like breath is something borrowed. Hands move before the mind catches up, tightening the blanket, checking the line, running a thumb across the curve of the hook. By now, nothing needs to be said to it. The hook knows, the body knows, the forest too knows. It leans back, gives space, no longer watching, now remembering. The walk to the stream is quieter than usual. Even the birds, those rare, distant echoes, have gone somewhere else. What's left is only the sound of motion. Water curling around stone, leaves shifting just enough to remind the world that they're still here. The stream is glassy today. Fish move slower. Hunger, too, moves slower. There's no urgency now, no fear, just rhythm. The hook slips into water. The breath holds steady. The hands do not shake. When the pull comes, there's no surprise, just response. One clean motion, one flick of silver, one soft impact against the flat stone. No sound, no hesitation. The ritual plays out like memory. It's not about food anymore, it's about continuity. Something to hold on to echo into the next hour. After eating, the stream becomes a mirror. No reflection. Just shape. A blur. A softness. Something that might have once been a name, a story, a face. But all of that has been left behind. traded for stillness. Back at the beach, the sky tries to open. A thin, bright slit on the edge of the horizon. Not sunlight, just suggestion. Enough to cast faint shadows across the sand. The line of stones is almost complete now. 5 pale markers, one for each day survived, each one shaped slightly different from the others. Each one warmer than the air around it, like the act of surviving has left heat behind. The 6th stone is smooth, rounded. It fits in the palm like it belongs there. Placed gently beside the others, it doesn't make a sound when it touches earth, just settles. The ocean breathes closer now. The line of tide creeps toward the blanket's edge and something in the wind changes. Not warning, not invitation, just shift. The sense that the spiral is narrowing, that the silence has learned your name. Blanket pulled close, hook in hand. Feet tucked beneath the body. Heartbeat pressed against soil that no longer feels indifferent. The forest doesn't lean in anymore. It leans away, making room, making space, because one more day remains. And the world is listening. No countdown this time. No thoughts of how many hours remain. The rhythm is different now. Slower, deeper, stretched so thin it no longer feels like passing time, but like time itself has gone to sleep. There's no true morning, just the rising sound of water behind the eyes and the dry heaviness in the limbs that says the body has not fully rested, but it has recovered enough to try again. The fire that never was still isn't. The blanket, stiff from salt and cold, clings to the spine like memory too old to name. Hands find the hook without searching. The line unwinds like breath, careful and practiced. There's no need to speak. Even thought has become quiet, stripped to its barest hum. The forest has grown familiar, not friendly, an old presence that no longer questions your presence. Each tree passed on, the way to the stream stands where it always has, but now they seem to bow in a way that isn't visible but deeply felt. The earth no longer pushes back. The path gives slightly beneath every step, as if remembering how to soften. At the edge of the stream, a crow watches from a low branch, silent and still. It doesn't caw, just tilts its head and disappears into the gray like a breath exhaled too far. The water is slow today, deeper, colder, but clear enough to see the fish before they feel the hook. No bait, not needed. The line dips, the hand holds. When the pull comes, it feels like part of the pulse. Another fish, the last perhaps, held, ended, eaten without ceremony. The hunger is dull now, not gone but gentle, like the body understands the agreement. Just one more day. That's all that's needed. After drinking from the stream, there's no rush to rise. Sitting there feels like sitting with something sacred. The place where the first fish came, the place where survival began. You press a hand to the ground. Whisper nothing. The forest hears it anyway. On the way back to the beach, everything feels lighter, not in weight, but in meaning. The sea is calm, the tide low, the wind curved soft across the sand. Even the blanket moves differently now, less like a burden, and more like a second skin that has finally learned how to hold you. The line of stones waits near the hollow, unchanged. You sit and let the 6th one rest in your palm a while longer before setting it beside the rest. 6 pieces of time, arranged like a memory that no longer needs to be explained. When the 7th comes, it will be the last, not a finish, a seal. The sound of the sea blends with the wind, becomes breath. The hook, wrapped again around your wrist, rests quietly against the pulse. You lie back. The sky above has color now, not blue, not gold, but the soft gray of something preparing to give. The spiral has tightened. It no longer turns around you. It turns within. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to listen, just to say. The forest leans in one final time, not to test you, but to remember you. The island won't speak. It never has. but it knows, and it nods, just once, just enough. The seventh day does not arrive with ceremony. It is simply there, layered into the silence, folded neatly into the spaces between breath and wind. No shift in temperature, no change in light. Only the subtle weight in the chest, the steady beat beneath the ribs, the quiet understanding that this is it. The last repetition, the final loop in the spiral. Eyes open slowly. The blanket is still cold, still damp, but no longer cruel. It fits now. The earth beneath the body feels warmer, as though it, too, had waited through the night and kept something of itself tucked beneath the roots. There's no hunger, no urgency, just rhythm. The hook waits beside you, line coiled and ready. No knots today, no tangles. It knew this day was coming. So did your hands. You move without speaking, without even thinking. The body remembers everything now. Steps are softer, lighter on the ground. The path is the same, but it no longer pushes back. Each leaf, each stone, each twist of root feels familiar. Not seen, known. The stream is still and clear, like glass drawn tight across the earth. The water doesn't speak. It listens. The branch is exactly where it should be. The line slips into the current without splash, the hook disappearing beneath surface tension like breath sinking beneath sleep. The forest around you holds its breath. Even the birds have stopped. Just for this. You wait. The hand doesn't tremble, the stomach doesn't ache. This isn't about need, this is about completion. One last motion, one final offering. When the pull comes, it's soft like a question. You lift the branch gently, slowly, and the fish breaks the surface with no panic, no thrashing, just surrender. You hold it for a moment, cradled in your palm, warm and still. It doesn't feel like prey. It feels like a message. The stone ends it quietly. You eat slowly, carefully, honoring each bite with stillness. The bones are clean when you're done. The stream carries the rest. You drink. You wash your hands. Then you sit for a long time with your palms pressed to the ground, eyes closed, body still. The forest exhales around you. On the walk back, the sky opens just enough to let a single thread of light stretch across the trees. Not sunlight. Something quieter. Something like understanding. The beach is waiting. The tide is low. The sand dry beneath your feet. The blanket clings as always, but now it feels earned. Like a mark. A layer of memory that will never come off the skin. You kneel by the line of stones. 6 pale shapes. Each one tied to a day. To a breath. To a moment survived. You place the 7th. It doesn't roll. It doesn't shift. It simply fits. The line is whole. The spiral is closed. The hook, now resting in your open hand, reflects the faintest glint of sky. You untie it from your wrist, lay it beside the final stone. The wind lifts once, soft, passing over the hollow, the stones, the sea. There is no sound. Just motion. Just presence. Just the end, folded gently over the beginning. You lie back with a blanket pulled tight. Not to sleep. Not to wait. Just to stay, for one last moment, inside the stillness you've become. The island no longer holds you. It carries you. It always did. The body sinks into the sand like it belongs there. Not buried, not vanishing, just received. The blanket pressed to your skin is no longer cold, no longer soaked in salt. It has taken the shape of stillness. A second terrain against the curve of your spine. There is no more trembling in the fingers. No ache behind the knees. The hook lies beside the 7th stone like an offering that no longer needs to be accepted. It glints once in the low light, then dulls, the metal fading back into the color of the earth. The sea has drawn its final line, tide curling around the edges of the hollow but never crossing the stones, as if even water understands what should remain untouched. No need to count the breaths now. They come as they wish, slow and deep, unshaped by effort. Each one is a soft echo of something larger, something older, folding itself gently around your ribs and releasing without resistance. The wind moves again, through branches, across water, past your face, but it doesn't pull. It touches, like recognition, like a hand pressed to a shoulder in the dark. Above, the sky is neither night nor day. It is the space between, the moment just before the first word or just after the last. No stars, no sun, just the faint shimmer of colorless light, like the sky has remembered how to breathe. Around the edges of your vision, the forest holds its shape. Not sharper, not closer, but fuller, as though the trees have opened some invisible seam, letting you see the shape of what they've been carrying all along. Memory hums beneath your head. It doesn't speak. It doesn't need to. The stones say everything. 7 quiet markers. 7 moments endured. 7 days folded into the palm of something patient. The spiral isn't gone. It lives inside the stillness now, inside the way your chest rises and falls without asking. The island has not forgotten you. The stream still knows your hands, the path still knows your weight. And the air, thin and clear and absolute, no longer presses down. It lifts, slowly, gently. One final exhale, stretched long and quiet over a body that no longer reaches for fire or warmth or rescue. Just rest, just return, just the hush of a story complete. There is no departure, no rising, no last glance over the shoulder. The end does not come with motion, but with stillness deep enough to be mistaken for absence. The body, wrapped in wool and memory pressed into sand and silence, remains, not left behind, not forgotten, simply part of the place now. Above, clouds pass without hurry. They carry no promise of rain, no omen of change, just drift, as if even the sky has adopted the rhythm of breath learned from you. The stones remain untouched, 7 still, each one faintly marked from where your fingers held them. Not symbols, just pressure, just presence. The hook beside them no longer reflects light. It has dulled completely, as though it too has closed its eyes. No need for sharpness now. No need for tools. What once cut, once caught, now rests. What once fought for survival now rests. The stream, far behind the tree line, flows as it always did. But the water runs deeper, not wider, just heavier, like it carries the shape of your hands within it. Fish still flick beneath its surface. Leaves still fall onto its banks. And the path between there and the sea, worn by your barefoot repetition, has softened. It holds no trace of passage, only familiarity. Somewhere in the middle distance, a single bird calls. Not alarm, not song, just sound, like punctuation, like a voice used because it still exists. But no one answers. Not because there is no one to hear, because nothing needs to be said. The island holds the quiet like a vessel. It has always done this, for others before you, for others to come. It remembers the shape of every breath taken under its trees. It remembers every stone that has marked time along its shores. It remembers the weight of the blanket, the curve of the body inside it, the way a hook pressed into a palm can become a kind of prayer. The spiral does not end here, it only deepens. It continues beneath the ground, through roots, through memory, through the quiet humming that now seems to live in the soil. The forest remains. The sea breathes. The sky waits. And in the center of it all, without name, without need, without fear, you remain. Not as the person who arrived, but as the silence that came after. As the stillness that lasts. As the answer the island always gives. The wind no longer feels like weather. It feels like thought. Like the island has begun to speak. Not in words. Not even in memory. But in presence. It drifts across the hollow where the body lies still beneath the wool blanket. Across the line of 7 stones. Across the old rusted hook. And it does not disturb a thing. It knows what this is. The quiet is complete now. No birds. No distant waves. Even the tide has held its breath. The ocean stays at the edge of its reach, motionless, as if unsure whether it is still needed. And maybe it isn't. Maybe the sea, like everything else here, has already given what it had to give. Behind the root-covered hill where the shelter once was, light filters softly through the trees. Gold, but not the gold of morning. This is older, deeper, the kind of light that remembers things. It bends gently through leaves, touches bark, touches sand, never hard, never fast, just enough to know it has been there. The ground is warm where it touches the body. Not hot, just aware, like it has shaped itself around what remains. The breath that leaves the chest is thin now. It doesn't rise with effort, it just falls. And every exhale feels like another layer of something heavy being let go. Hunger hasn't spoken in days. Thirst no longer stirs. The body is still alive, but it no longer argues with the silence. It listens to it, accepts it. Inside the lungs, the rhythm has changed, not slowing, softening. There is no end here, just less, just quieter. The mind, once crowded with questions, images, names, has gone smooth like a stone turned over by water again and again. There are still thoughts, but they no longer feel like thoughts. They feel like presence taking different shapes. The sky doesn't grow darker, it grows lighter, in a way that isn't about brightness but weight. The world is lifting. The forest leans back again. It doesn't watch anymore. It closes its eyes. The island no longer holds you because it doesn't need to. You are within it, beneath it, part of it. You have always been part of it. The spiral doesn't end in a line. It folds inward gently once more and tucks you into that last coil. The air that moves through the trees carries no scent, no salt, no fire, only quiet. The quiet of completion. The kind that comes after a breath so deep the chest forgets how to ask for more. There are no footprints on the beach now. The water has erased everything that isn't still. Only the stones remain, only the shape they make. 7 pieces. 1 life. A hook beside them, curved like the moon, rusted soft, harmless now. The blanket has molded to the body, no longer a separate thing. Just texture, just warmth, just the last thread tying presence to shape. The world narrows. Vision fades not into black, but into silver. And somewhere, beyond the sea, beyond the trees, beyond the name you used to carry, the spiral continues, endless, silent, waiting. Not for another. Not for return, but for breath, for stillness, for the next hand to touch the earth and whisper, I am here. I am enough. I remember. No one comes. No boat, no voice, no shape on the horizon. The sea does not call and the sky does not send for you, because nothing needs to. The work is done. The silence has taken its full shape around you and now holds like a cradle. Not confining, not cold, just final. The body no longer shifts. There is no need to adjust, no ache to ease, no chill to shake loose. Everything has stilled into perfect balance. Above, the wind continues to move through trees that have grown used to your presence, grown familiar with the quiet gravity of you being there. The branches creak softly, not mournfully, not even musically. Just rhythm, just continuation. Like a breath the world forgot it was holding. The blanket no longer reads as fabric. It is part of the scene, part of the texture of the earth, like moss, like stone, like roots beneath soil that no longer worry about seasons. It does not warm or protect anymore. It simply completes the shape you've become. Something more than body, more than memory. You are pattern now. You are part of the ritual this place repeats, slow and eternal. The 7 stones do not shine. They do not crumble. They do not move. They remain, like punctuation in a language made entirely of pauses. 1 for each day. Each breath. Each moment the body resisted the urge to disappear and chose instead to remain quiet and unseen. The hook lies where it was left, no longer bound to survival, no longer a tool. It is now a relic, curved and rusting, its work complete. A small gesture of what was once struggle, now stillness. If someone found this place, they would not know your name. There is no name here, no carving in bark, no mark on stone, just arrangement. The way the hollow cradles the body, the way the line of stones draws the eye, the way the ocean stops exactly at the edge and no further. They would know someone was here, they would feel it. The hush, the weight of everything that happened without needing to be told. And they would not disturb it. Because some places ask not to be remembered, but to be left, honored through distance, understood without possession. The forest has closed around you now, not out of rejection, but conclusion. The trees have softened. The air carries only breath. No insects hum. No leaves fall. No light flickers across the sea. Everything holds. Everything stays. And in the center of that stillness, your form remains. Breathless. Silent. Whole. Not gone. Just done. The spiral rests with you now. And it turns no more. Nothing turns now because nothing needs to. The island, the air, the path, the stream, all of it exhales in unison, a long and quiet breath released not out of exhaustion, but fulfillment. This place is not a memory, it is a vessel. It does not carry names or dates or stories. It carries weight. The weight of presence, of silence, of a body that stopped running, stopped reaching, stopped resisting, and simply allowed the world to receive it. There are no more instructions, no more hours, no more questions. Everything that needed to be endured has been. Everything that needed to be known is already within. The shoreline curves in a gentle, unbroken line, the sea kissing it with the care of something ancient. The stones, 7, perfect in their plainness, will remain long after the wind reclaims the blanket, long after the sand covers the hook. They will sit exactly as they are now, untouched, unnamed, unnecessary to anyone but this place, and the place knows. The forest does not need to see, it feels. The stream does not need to speak. It remembers the taste of your hands, the wind passing once more through the canopy no longer circles. It moves straight through, as if there is no longer a barrier between you and the world, because there isn't. You have become the pause at the center of movement, the hush between questions, the still point where effort ends. The spiral rests because you are within it, because you are it. Nothing more is asked, nothing more is given. And in this exact breathless moment, stretched wide and soft across sand and sky, the story folds into its final silence. Not the kind that closes, but the kind that opens into sleep. Sleep deeper than dreaming, sleep without edge or name, sleep that asks nothing and gives everything, sleep that is not the end. Only stillness, only now. There is no after, not here, not now. What remains is not a continuation, but a suspension. A breath held not in tension, but in reverence. The kind of pause the world takes when snow falls for the first time, or when a wave collapses in perfect silence against the shore. The forest no longer leans. It stands in still formation, holding its shape around the space you once occupied. Not as a monument, not as a grave, but as a memory made physical. The path to the stream has faded, not from neglect, but from forgiveness. The prints in the mud have softened, filled with leaves and time, erased with care. Not to forget you, but to return the land to balance. Even the fish move differently now, slower, deeper, as if the water itself has grown thoughtful. The sea continues its motion, unburdened. The blanket has unraveled in places, pulled loose by wind and salt and time, now blending into earth the way stories dissolve into silence when no longer told aloud. The hook is nearly buried, its curve catching faint light. When the clouds shift, a final glimmer like a last word mouthed but never spoken. No one will come. And that is not a tragedy. It is a mercy. This place was never meant for rescue. It was meant for return. And return has happened. Fully. Completely. Without witness or applause. The spiral, though still, is never undone. Its shape continues beneath the surface, written into stone and bark, and the rhythm of wind through unbroken trees. And there, beneath layers of quiet and soil and time, the spiral sleeps. Not ended, not empty, just waiting, softly, for the next stillness, for the next breath, for the next soul who will come, unknowingly carrying their last question and leave without needing an answer. The island will receive them, as it received you. And once again, without sound, without rush, without anything but silence, they will be held, and the spiral will turn, once more, as it always does, as it always will. Time is not measured anymore. There is no sun to cross the sky, no shadow to stretch and shrink, no calendar of hunger or motion. The body that once walked the path from sand to stream no longer aches, no longer shifts beneath the blanket. It has become part of the landscape. The air around it thickens in the still hours, not with cold, not with weather, but with knowing. The forest leans gently inward, branches no longer guarding, no longer questioning, just present. Trees sway but do not creak. Roots curl under the ground in long, patient spirals, cradling the hollow where you rest with more care than hands ever could. And above, the sky remains the same soft gray it has always been, holding light without shining, drifting without shape. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing asks it to change. The shoreline, once marked by the rhythm of steps and the wet sweep of tide, is now undisturbed. Even the water has learned the quiet. It no longer climbs the sand, it listens. Breath, once sharp and urgent, has slowed to something beneath breath, deeper, not quieter, like the earth itself has taken over. The chest no longer rises. The ribs no longer strain. What remains is presence without effort, stillness without waiting. The stones, 7 of them, each once warm in the hand, each once marked by a day, now sit in a line undisturbed, not as markers of survival, but as punctuation in a sentence that no longer needs to be spoken. They gather moss. They gather meaning. The hook beside them is half covered by wind-shaped sand. Its arc, once so sharp and careful, now curls into the soil like something growing backward, returning to where it was born. The line still clings faintly to it, like memory refusing to loosen, but the thread frays with each breeze. Soon it will vanish, thread by thread, not torn, just released. And no one will need to see it happen, because this place remembers everything without needing to display it. Memory here is not performance, it is presence. It is breathless and full. Not one bird lands on the stones. Not one animal crosses the hollow. Not out of fear, out of respect. The stillness has weight now. The shape of the body beneath the blanket has become the island's shape. The spiral has curled its final turn and closed, not with finality, but with peace. The air doesn't hum anymore. It doesn't need to. The hum lives within the trees, within the streams, within the roots that stretch beneath your resting place. And if someone walks this shore years from now, if they find the stones and the faint shape of the blanket, they won't need to ask who was here. They will know, because the silence will speak for you, because the wind will pause just slightly, because the sea will reach only so far and no farther, because the earth itself has taken in what was given, not claimed it, not buried it, just held it, gently, softly, entirely. And in that quiet, final breath, the island says thank you, not with sound, not with voice, just with the way it stays as it is, just with the way it lets you stay, forever. Nothing stirs, not the air, not the leaves, not even the thoughts that once scratched behind your eyes. The final shape of stillness has settled into everything. The beach no longer remembers the weight of your footsteps, not because they didn't matter, but because they've been folded into the rhythm of the island, absorbed, not erased. The shoreline has resumed its quiet breathing, a slow exchange between tide and land that feels more like communion than erosion. In that motionless space where sky meets sea, the light has flattened completely, stretched thin over the world like silk, unmoving, endless. This isn't dusk. This isn't dawn. It's the hour that exists only after a story finishes telling itself. The body beneath the blanket no longer distinguishes itself from the ground it rests on. Skin against sand, wool against moss. The edges of shape have blurred. What remains is form, yes, but not identity. Something larger holds that now. Something beneath language, beneath flesh. The line of 7 stones sits unchanged, and yet it feels like it's humming. Like each one holds the echo of a breath, the memory of motion, the quiet resilience of a day survived without certainty. They are warm, not to the touch, but to the world. A soft heat, a residue of presence. The hook, once an instrument of hunger, now rusts openly, its arc dull, its purpose spent. No hand reaches for it anymore. It rests with the stillness of an object that has done its work and now asks only to be left alone. Time here no longer asks to be counted. The forest behind you has grown thicker with silence, not denser with trees, but with memory. Where you once walked, roots now grow, slow and wide, as if sealing a path no longer needed. Leaves gather without falling. Wind folds itself into shadows. Even the birds no longer call. What was once absence is now reverence. The island is not mourning, it is remembering. The spiral is not moving, it is full. There will be no rain, no fire, no closing scene. The world around you remains in pause, not held back, but stretched in gentle permanence. If anyone were to come here, they would feel it before they saw it. The weight in the air, the softness of the light, the unspoken stillness that whispers. Someone became part of this place. Someone disappeared without vanishing. Someone rested here long enough to teach the land how to breathe like them. The sea continues its rhythm. The trees continue their hush. The stones hold their warmth. The spiral does not open again, but is there, always there, just beneath the ground, turning slowly in silence. A shape without beginning, an end without conclusion, and the breath that once carried you through wind, water, cold, and hunger. Now it rests. Now it joins the breath of the earth. And the island, patient as ever, says nothing, because now there is nothing left to say. Only stillness. Only presence. Only the long, unbroken quiet of a story that needed no witness to be complete. Above the hollow, the sky holds still. Not heavy, not light, just infinite in its silence. No clouds drift. No birds break the distance. It is a lid over the island, soft and vast, as if protecting what lies beneath without enclosing it. The light it casts is not illumination, it's remembrance. The faint, even glow of something that knows the moment has passed but refuses to let it vanish. Below, the blanket no longer registers as cloth. It is part of the terrain, pressed into the curvature of the earth like a layer of fog folded into stone. The shape it covers is unchanging, not from death, not from absence, but from peace so absolute that movement no longer has purpose. The chest does not rise, it does not fall. Breath has become unnecessary, not because life has ended, but because it has settled into something larger, something wider than a single body could hold. The stones beside the hollow sit in perfect stillness. 7 small bodies of memory. 7 moments that once held hunger, wind, fireless cold, silence. Now they hold none of those things. They are warm, soft with moss, quiet with knowing. The sea does not touch them. It reaches, yes, every few hours, a slow lapping crawl of foam and water. But it never crosses the final line. It never touches the 7th stone. It knows. The ocean understands when to come close and when to leave something untouched. Further inland, the forest has begun to close. Slowly, patiently. Trees lean inward, not in threat, but in guardianship. Vines slide gently over bark. Ferns stretch into the spaces where your feet once stepped. The path to the stream still exists, but only in the memory of roots and shadow. The stream itself has grown clearer, deeper, not louder, just more certain. It reflects nothing, not because it is still, but because it has decided reflection is no longer needed. It carries the image of what once knelt beside it in its rhythm now, in the way the water curls around the rock where the first fish was cleaned, in the way it glimmers in low light like the gleam of a hook, now buried, now rusted, now at peace. Night doesn't fall here, it arrives like breath drawn in slow. The sky does not darken, the world does not vanish. It just softens until the edges blur, until the silence grows too complete to hold shape. The trees go quiet. The sea falls silent. The island holds itself in reverence as if bowing around the shape it has kept. And in the hollow, wrapped in the last curl of the blanket, the form remains, not waiting, not dreaming, not listening. Just there. Present. Final. A part of something vast and quiet, and perfectly complete. The spiral turns no more, because it has found its center. And in that center, it rests. Not even the wind moves now. It has wandered far inland, beneath the canopy, perhaps to rest itself, or to carry the echo of what happened here to the quiet corners of the world that still understand stillness. There is no need for wind at the shoreline. The message has been delivered. The hollow holds its shape, not sunken, not collapsed, just held like a thumbprint in time, pressed gently into the earth and left alone. The forest does not approach it. The ocean does not claim it. The light above does not change. No morning, no evening. Only the long, soft moment of after, stretched across every grain of sand, every line of bark, every motionless breath of stone and salt and root. And still the 7 stones remain. Their placement too quiet to be deliberate, too perfect to be random. They form no symbol, they form no code, but they form something. Anyone who stood before them would feel it. A gravity, a hush, a space where noise does not belong. And beside them, the hook, half gone now, crusted with salt, curled deeper into the sand. Like a crescent moon falling slowly into the sea. It will disappear eventually, like all things, but not yet. Not until the sea forgets. And the sea forgets slowly. There are no marks in the sand, no footprints, no claw prints, no wind-shaped trails. Even the blanket, once so heavy with damp and cold, lies weightless now. No longer cloth, no longer burden. Just presence woven into place. Its fibers loosening into soil, its edges thinning, becoming indistinguishable from the roots beneath it. It is not a grave, it is not a resting place. It is the center of a spiral whose motion was breath and hunger and time, and that motion has ceased, not broken, not ended, just fulfilled. The sky does not speak. It never did. But it sees. The trees do not kneel. They lean. A slow inclination of limbs, of leaves, of shadows, inward. Not in grief, but in recognition. As if they too knew what it meant to endure without need for witness, to hold still until the world learned how to breathe around them. They have watched everything, and they understand this form in the earth, this hush that never broke, this story that asked for no rescue. They understand that nothing more is needed. No storm will pass through here, no animal will dig, no fire will burn. This place is finished, not ruined, finished. The kind of completion that only stillness can offer, the kind of quiet that no longer listens for footsteps because none will come. And that is not loneliness, that is peace. Deep below, where roots twine into bedrock, the spiral hums, not in motion, not in sound, but in shape, in memory, in knowing. The spiral does not forget. It simply grows so still that it becomes part of the ground, part of the sea, part of the world that waits for nothing and carries everything. This is not where the story ends, is where it is finally allowed to be quiet, forever. The earth above the spiral is hardened just enough to hold the shape of rest without collapsing it, like a palm cupped around a sleeping flame. No flowers grow here, no grass dares to sprout. The soil does not celebrate, it remembers. This is not a place for beginnings, but a place for completion, a word whispered once and never repeated. The hush surrounding the stones deepens as days pass, though days are no longer counted. Light bends across the beach in long, wide spans of colorless warmth, rushing the sand without ever fully settling, as if the sun itself is careful not to interrupt. Far beyond the tree line, the stream has changed its song. It no longer chatters or skips. Its water glides over stone with reverence, a sound so even it seems like breath drawn through silence. The fish still swim, slower now, fewer, their movement somehow gentler, as if they, too, have learned something from absence. The bank where hands once knelt now bears a soft impression, smoothed by time but still holding the curve of a body that waited, endured, belonged. Vines lean toward that place, not to claim it, but to protect it from forgetting. There are no footprints along the trail. The forest has sealed it, not with force, but with stillness. The path now exists only in the memory of bark, in the subtle shift of light between the trees where steps once passed. The air has grown thicker, not with humidity, but with presence. Standing in it feels like standing inside a held breath, as if the entire island remains suspended in a moment it refuses to release. Above the hollow, above the 7 stones and the faint outline of the blanket, the sky has taken on a softer tone. Not gray, not blue, not gold, but something between. The color of endings that are not sad, only final. Birds pass high overhead but never land. The breeze returns once each dusk, brushes lightly over the stones, then drifts out to sea. It carries nothing. It asks nothing. It simply moves through, a final echo of motion in a place that has chosen to remain still. Below, the spiral has vanished from sight, but it lives on in feeling. Step near the hollow and you feel it. Not a pull, not a voice, just a certainty like a thread beneath the sand connecting this place to something beyond understanding. The shape of the spiral is gone from the ground, but it has been etched elsewhere, into the way the tide now moves, slower, more rhythmic, into the way the clouds above part only slightly, as if revealing just enough light for reverence, into the way the silence has grown full rather than empty. You feel it not in your ears or bones, but in the still part of the chest that always knew how to listen when everything else had been stripped away. And so the hollow remains, the stones remain, the last coil of the blanket, weathered but whole, remains, and what rests beneath them, what was once hunger, once breath, once wandering, has joined the place it came to understand. Not as an intruder, not as a visitor, but as part of it. Folded in, held without question, a silence that belongs, a stillness that means. Nothing more moves here, and nothing needs to. The spiral has closed, and in its center, everything rests, and still the stillness deepens, not as a thickening silence, but as a refinement, like something being polished in place by the slow passage of nothing. The sand no longer shifts. The wind, when it returns, does so in single breaths, short, reverent motions that pass over the stones and blanket without changing them. Even time has forgotten to move here. It hovers, unfelt, uninterested in days or seasons. The hollow beneath the trees has hardened into a shape the earth now accepts as its own. What was once a presence is now permanence, not in the way monuments last, but in the way shadows do, quietly, completely, without needing to remain visible. Nothing has disturbed this place, not even the smallest life. Insects steer wide. Birds circle far above. Even roots twist slowly around the edge of the hollow, never daring to enter. There's an awareness among living things that what lies here is not absence. It is memory so complete that it no longer requires motion to be felt. The forest has bent its laws to accommodate it. Trees grow differently near the stones. They lean inward slightly, but not in curiosity, in respect. Leaves gather more thickly here, but they do not rot. They rest, layering themselves across sand and wool like offerings placed without ceremony. And still the 7 stones endure, unmarked, unchanged, gathering the quiet around them. Their surfaces remain dry, even when mist creeps down from the hills or salt spray drifts in from the sea. The blanket has begun to fade. Not fray, not tear. Its color, once dull and mottled from salt and use, now blends seamlessly with the tones of earth and bark. If you didn't know what to look for, you would miss it. But the land remembers. And the line of those stones, that slight rise in the sand where the body last drew breath, continues to shape the rhythm of everything around it. The ocean does not come closer than it should. Its edge curls just short of the first stone, again and again, as if testing the boundary, and then recedes. It has accepted this limit. It does not fight it, because this place is not meant to be reclaimed. It has given itself to the spiral, and the spiral holds. Deep underground, where roots meet stone and stone becomes memory, the spiral turns once more, not as a motion, but as a presence. It does not ask, it does not echo, it simply exists, complete, quiet, waiting, not for return, but for recognition. Every breath ever taken here, every hunger, every whisper that slipped from cracked lips to the cold wind, all of it is preserved, not as history, as shape, as the curve of the earth around the hollow, as the hush in the water just before the fish turns, as the slight hush in the wind mid-step, as though it still listens for someone who no longer needs to walk. Nothing more will happen here. And that is the point, because what was needed has already happened. What was carried has already been set down. What was endured has already been given to the ground. And the spiral does not open again. It only continues, beneath, within, beyond. And the place that once held one life for 7 quiet days now holds the story of stillness made whole. And so the stillness is no longer just a condition, it is a truth. The deepest kind. The kind that outlives language and outlasts the need to be named. It radiates outward from the hollow, not in sound, not in movement, but in a way the land understands without question. The trees further up the slope grow slower now. The leaves stay longer on the branches. Even decay hesitates here, as if time itself has agreed to pause in honor of what happened beneath the blanket, beside the stones, beneath the breathing sky. There is no ceremony, no inscription, no echo. Yet the place holds the weight of something sacred. Not holy in a way humans often try to force, but in the quiet, inevitable way a stone becomes smooth after centuries in water. The spiral has sunk so deeply into this place that it no longer needs to turn. Its shape exists in the curve of the shoreline, the bend of the trees, the way the wind softens its voice near the center. Everything here has taken on its rhythm. Even the air feels shaped, not confined, just curved gently, the way a cupped hand holds a flame without touching it. Nothing crosses the stones, not rain, not shadow, not even time. They sit in perfect alignment, not arranged by logic, but by instinct, as if the earth itself placed them with thought. Each one is smooth now, worn not by fingers, but by silence. They don't mark days anymore, they mark presence. They are not reminders, they are evidence. The blanket, nearly gone to the eye, remains fully to the earth. Its fibers have slid down into the soil, drawn into the roots, spread like memory through bark and leaf. What was once woven to warm a body is now part of the body of this place. It no longer wraps anything, and yet it holds everything. Its absence is a presence. Its shape is no longer cloth. It is contour, hollow, weight. A gentle compression in the earth that says, something stayed here long enough to become still. Far below, the spiral is not idle. It does not turn quickly, does not signal. It pulses. It hums, not as sound, but as knowing. Every time the wind shifts, every time the ocean inhales, the spiral breathes with it. And somewhere, far from this island, or perhaps deep within it, there is a quiet held so fully that if another stepped into it, they would stop walking. Not out of fear, out of recognition. They would feel the weight in the air, the soft pressure of silence around their ribs, and they would understand that this was a place where breath once became the only language. That someone lived here without needing to be seen. That someone ended not in loss, but in peace so perfect the forest still bends to remember it. And that is the final truth the island gives. There is no monument. There is no name. There is only quiet that holds what mattered. And the spiral, though never again opened, lives on in that quiet, whole, unmoving, and full. No footsteps return. No fire is rekindled. No hand reaches back to lift the blanket or turn the stones. There is no reason to disturb what is already complete. The spiral has drawn its last line, not across the earth, but into it, and folded itself inward like a breath released so slowly that the silence after it feels eternal. The forest watches no longer. It rests. The sea listens no longer. It calms. And overhead the sky remains open, unchanging, not asking to be noticed. The world has accepted that something here has come to rest so deeply that even time has stepped aside. What lies beneath the sand is not a body, not anymore. It is a memory in the shape of stillness, a life that no longer pulses through skin and bone but through root and wave and wind. There is no death here, only return, only rest, only the soft final presence of someone who stayed long enough to disappear gently, and without struggle, into the quiet that holds all things. And so the island remains, the stones remain, the place holds. It does not forget, it does not speak, it does not reach, it only breathes, slowly, silently, completely. And that breath will never end. Good night.